Hello and welcome to this video exploring the energetic themes for business in 2022. I think to start with, it's worth looking back at 2021 and seeing where we have come from and in order to see where we're going to move into. So 2021 has been a 5-year, and the 5 is the number of change, and we have definitely seen a huge amount of change. Much of that change is still in progress, but we're seeing considerable amount of change. We've had to adapt ourselves, we've had to fight ourselves, we've had to work through so much in order to be able to navigate the energies of 2021. So 2022, on the other hand, is a 6-year, and that's the year of balance. And given the turbulence that we've come from, and the turbulence you may well be experiencing at this time, it's kind of hard to see how we can move into a space of balance and what that actually is going to look like and feel like. So interestingly, the feel of the year is one around transformation, but it's the embodiment of the deep change that we've been through, and the ability to anchor that into the way that we live, think, behave in the year ahead. So that's going to be very important for us in life and business. But it is the embodiment of that change that is key in the coming year. So the core themes that are coming through that I will then translate a little bit into the nature of what that means for business. The first of those themes is around presence. Now, the important aspect of presence is to be in your center, in your power. There'll be a way that you find it makes sense, a way that expression that you use, but it's about being very much in yourself, and acknowledging who you are and being able to work from that place in order to respond to what you're creating in the world, what the world's creating around you, so that you are moving from a place of confidence and strength within that creates this sense of presence and this ability to withstand the storm, shall we say. So that finding presence is a key aspect and theme of the year ahead, and something that we'll lean into in different ways at different times, and it'll be something unique for each of us that we will gain from the year ahead in terms of that journey into finding presence. The second big theme that is going to come up is this word which has come up a number of times now, which is around restoration. Now, restoration, the word has come up because it's a more nourishing word than reset, and it's also, there's an aspect with restoration of restoring back to your original blueprints, or restoring you back to your truth, wherever that may have been distorted. Now, restoration is a healing process, and it may feel anything but a healing process. There may be chaos all around you, and that may feel extremely unhealing in when it's going on all around you. I think the key message that came through was that you need to refer to what's going on inside rather than what's going on outside, because when you are dropping into what's going on within, then you can find that compass to navigate it. You can find the gold within the chaos. You can find what the restoration actually is for you, which links back to, obviously, to the first thing, which is around your presence, which is around another word that I don't often use, but has been coming up a lot, is sovereignty. So it's getting into your presence, into your power, into your sovereignty, in order to be able to access and harness that restoration, and that which will be running through the whole year. I suspect that we will see some quite significant changes early on in the year, and then we will spend a lot of time working with those through the remainder of the year, and that's the restoration. The third theme is around being in the moment. It's about working with what is, not with what we want or thought we were going to have, but what is. So it's really tapping into a deep earth energy of working with the materials that you have available to create what you want to create. But it's not about dreaming your way into something. It's about being very practically focused on creating in the moment and working with what you have, and allowing yourself to stop and drop and be present in the moment, to move from there, to make your decisions from there, to be aware of what you have available to you, and to move with that at that time. And that relates to another core theme, which is around the lack of absolutes. We have become very good in our society at expecting things to be clear cut and absolute truths, but there is no absolute. What is right and true for me is going to be very different to what is right and true for you. And we each have our own perspectives, and we bring those perspectives to bear on how we see the world and how we respond and how we react. That's really key to understand, that everybody can have a different perspective and still be right. There are no absolutes, which, you know, it comes down to this what do you relates back to the previous theme of being able to work with what you have, but also being much more accepting of the need to be flexible and be adaptable, and to be able to step into somebody else's shoes, to try and appreciate their perspective, or to see what you're creating from a different perspective, so that you understand how it'll be received. There are many ways that this may play out, but it's definitely that the truth is dynamic. It's dynamic at a collective level, as in there are lots of different perspectives on it. But it's also dynamic for you, because you're constantly evolving and constantly changing, and therefore what is true for you in this moment will not be true for you down the line. And what's true for you now was not true for you not very long ago. So you're constantly evolving, so is your perspective, and therefore so is your truth. And that's something we need to get better at, because the other big theme that's come up for 2022 is about flow. And it means having to let go. You can't flow unless you let go. There's a wonderful Hopi quote about, you know, there's a great river and we just need to let go, and we need to get into the middle of the river and just flow with it. And it feels very, very relevant to what we're going to be experiencing in the coming year. You have to let go of your expectations, of your thoughts about what was going to be, what you wanted to be, what, you know, and being rigid in that, and allowing yourself to go in the moment. And back to the previous theme, going in the moment in order to flow with the energy and move with the energy, to create with the energy, and to be very present in the moment with what is going on, working with what you've got, creating with what you've got, moving from where you are. So just allowing that feeling of flow to become something that is part and parcel of your experience of the year. And with going with the flow, the message that came across was that when you go with the flow, then you are going with the energy and you can create with it. Whereas if you hold on, then you get that destructive force of holding on and not going with it. And I think that's where, you know, if you imagine trying to stand, going back to the river analogy, if you stand in the middle of a river and it's a strong current, it's going to, and you use all your energy to stay still. Whereas if you just let yourself go, then you can actually put your energy into what are you going to do, rather than how are you going to cling on to where you were. And that's really where we're at in the coming year, is that we need to be able to put our energy into creation, not into maintaining. And that's how you embody the change. in order to embody the change, you need to really be in creation mode. So that's what we're going to see in the coming year. So those are the themes that have broadly come up. So what does that mean for business in the year ahead? So I'm just going to take you through some key things that I think you need to be looking at and be preparing for within your business in the coming year. So the first thing to apply to your business relates to this theme of flowing. And that is to release your attachment to what you thought your business should be, was going to be, needs to be. The ability to be very dynamic with your business, creative activities is going to be really important in the year. So you're able to be in the moment, responding to that, not being attached to things looking a particular way or needing to turn up at a particular time. So being a lot more flexible and adaptable in the way that you approach your business is the first aspect of that. So we tend to plan our businesses out at least 3, 6, even 12 months ahead. And we need to be much more dynamic and in the moment in the coming year. So that can feel uncomfortable. That can be quite challenging to navigate because we like to know what's going. We like to know when we're planning to take something out into the world, and therefore when we're likely to be receiving clients or receiving income. We like that certainty. And there are other things going on in our lives, and we like to plan around those. But it's more to do with what things are going to look like. It might be that you just need to sort of like, instead of saying, right, I am going to do this particular thing at this particular time, I'm going to be intending to offer something to people at this particular time. I don't know what it's going to look like. Allowing yourself to step away from these absolutes and finding yourself a little bit more freedom and flexibility is going to be key in the year ahead, which of course relates to another aspect, which is about welcoming change, because we are in the process of embodying that change. And as we do that, then we are going to need to be shifting into a space of welcoming change. Now, change can be very uncomfortable for all of us, and it can be something that is really difficult to navigate in business, and it can be unsettling, and we may try to claw back our way back to that certainty and that stability of what we've always known. But what we actually need to be doing is finding a way to embrace change, and that's not always easy. And we tend to fight and resist change because it takes us through a period of being very uncomfortable. It takes us through a period when we are becoming somebody else in order to meet whatever it is that needs to be met. And we often hold back because we're not sure we want to become that, or we're not sure that we want to lose what we might lose in the process of becoming something else. So there's lots of different aspects to that, but trying to cultivate a way of being that embraces change and welcomes change is going to be key to embodying that change, and creating something for the future, creating something from a new space and a new place that is going to be really positive for you now and down the line. The other thing that has really come up is around the need to heal business. Now, there are two aspects to healing, because businesses will heal you. They will put you in a place and a space where you need to heal yourself. And the healing is really important for you because the business is coming through you. So it can be a healing process for you. But the way that we have operated in business for a very long time has created a lot of trauma within businesses. Now that may be affecting you, and it almost certainly will be affecting you, but it's also affecting the energy body of your business. And so there's going to be a real need for businesses to heal this year, to heal the trauma. And part of that relates to releasing your attachments to what things should look like, because a lot of what that's wrapped up in is collective unconscious understanding and collective conscious understanding of business. So, there's a lot of trauma that is actually wrapped up in that, because the energy of your business needs to flow in its own way. It can't flow in a pre-prescribed way. You have to meet it on its own terms. And if you are imposing anything on it, then it is creating trauma. And that trauma, there's past trauma for every single business, and that needs to heal in the coming year. So we need to bring our attention onto that healing and allow that process to happen. And we have to be very flexible and adaptable in that space in order to allow that to happen, because it will challenge our ideas about what things should be like. Are we expecting things to be like? Are we expecting the direction that we're expecting them to take? So we need to be, again, coming back to that thing of being in the moment, of being dynamic, is going to be really important to support the process of healing for your business. So another theme that is going to be key is around your core essence and energy, and your business's core essence and energy, and allowing yourself to really feel the power that is at your core, feel the power that is at the core of your business, and to create from there. So bringing the inside, the interior, the inner world, power, presence, essence, into expression in the outside world, and moving from the core. That's going to be, that's the expression that comes to mind, is moving from the core. So we're really creating in the physical, in the tangible. We are bringing that internal energy, that power, into physical form. So we are creating in ways that is completely true to us. So that's you and your business as separate entities, separate energies, working in harmony, working collaboratively to create something very tangible. So we need to be ditching the intellectual approach and really collaborating, cooperating at an energetic level to access that power. And that's something that you can really drop into and feel, and allow a channel and a free flow of energy. That's the background really to the next thing to think about in business, and that is around capacity. Capacity to create, capacity to receive, capacity to be present, capacity to hold energy. These are going to be critical. The coming year is going to challenge your ability, your capacity to do these things. It's going to challenge your business's capacity. And that's going to be something that you're going to need to be working on, expanding that capacity, ensuring that you're in a place where you can hold that capacity and move from a place of expanded capacity to create what it is that you need to create and what is calling to be created between you and your business. Another theme that I've already touched on is around resilience, and that connects to your ability to adapt and be flexible, to move with the energy rather than trying to force your way through down a path that you think you should be following. You need to be resilient. In this context, I've done a video on business resilience. Resilience is your ability to be flexible, to be adaptable, to change what you are doing in the moment if that's needed. But it's also about the ability to have that prescience of what's over the horizon. What can you see brewing? Because you can see this. If you give yourself half a chance to look for it, you'll see the themes that are building, and therefore what your business needs to do in order to respond to that. So resilience is another key business concept and theme for the year that needs to be brought into the mix and held in your conscious awareness throughout the year. The theme that has come up again and again is around clarity. There has been so much confusion, and in the latter parts of 2021 we're seeing huge amounts of confusion. So when you might have spent the whole year getting clarity on your business, only to find it just fall away in the latter part of the year, and you're just like, what is going on? And clarity is something that we look for and we seek out time and time again. You know, we're always looking to go deeper and get clearer on why are we here, what is our message, who we're here to help, what are we doing, you know, what's the actual focus of what we're doing. So we're always looking for more clarity, and that quest is not necessarily going to stop this year, but I think there is going to be a point where just like suddenly, boom, you're going to get this like bits, they're just going to drop into place, and you're going to get, that's where what's coming. You're going to have it coming back to that concept of developing a presence. You're going to get that absolute stones are just going to like drop out and drop into place, and you're just going to go, that's it, I understand that. It's important to do that within the context of being flexible and adaptable, being in the moment, being dynamic, because as I said earlier on, you know, what's true for you now will not be true for you in a week's time when you've done a big growth, big period of growth, and your perspective is different. So we need to still be in the moment, but that clarity is going to come in over the next few months, so that it's you're understanding what it is that you're here for, how it connects into the bigger picture, and you know that the role that you and your business are playing within the collective is going to be really important to you for the future. That's going to start to drop into place and give you at least that of having that clarity, and then, but also then the spark and the ignition that comes from that place, because you have that clarity and you have therefore more confidence to move from that place. So I think the final piece for businesses in the year ahead is around allowing that process of becoming. This is going to take some space. It's going to take some time. It's going to mean that you need to be a little easier on yourself. It's going to need to be a little easier on your business. You know, that if you're more flexible and you're more creative in how you think your business should operate, then you're going to create some space for it to be able to respond in the moment, to embed and embody this change in its own way, in ways that work for your business, in ways that work for you, and in ways that work for the people that you're here to support. So there'll be lots of fluid change, and we need to find that ease with allowing the becoming and the process of becoming to become part of our daily approach, instead of that rigidity that we have of this is what it means to be working on my business, this is what it means to be working in my business. Then instead of having that rigidity of our expectation about what that looks like, then just giving a little bit more space for that process to happen naturally. And as we support that process of becoming, one of the things that it feels very important to start to look at, and perhaps the last year or two has been preparing us for this particularly, is to allow business to become part of life, part of our lives, so that it is part of, you know, this whole work, rest, play, experience, explore, the vital life force that allows us to keep on growing and keep on becoming ourselves, is allowing business to become part of that very dynamic life force, because that is coming back to the going with the flow. Part of that is about allowing the energy to move, and that's been a theme towards the end of this 2021. That's been a real theme of like, you need to allow energy to move. We create a lot of rigidity, we create a lot of intense structures around our businesses that actually restrict energy from moving, and we need to dismantle a lot of that and simplify the structures that we have to allow energy to move, because energy is life force. It is that vitality. Your business can only breathe, and it can only develop, and it can only expand if it has the freedom to do that. So that's the big theme, you know, for me in the year ahead, is if you're going to embody the change that you've been working on all the last year, the last 5 years, whatever, but particularly the last year, if you want to embody that change, then you have to have the freedom to create something different. You have to have the freedom to create what that energy needs in order to be able to move. And that's really where we're at in the year ahead. I would hazard a guess that we'll see some quite big shifts quite early on. And certainly, you know, as we move through November 2021, which is, you know, when we're moving into we can really feel these energies. I mean, you may well be feeling them already, but, you know, we'll really start to feel them from the 1111 portal. We might start to see some big changes at that point, from that point onwards, and just like, and then we'll be working with the ramifications of those changes. But certainly, you know, business is going to change. There's going to be some big shifts in business. We may not see them until we look back and see how big they have been, but business is going to change in the coming year. Business has to change. There's a huge amount of pressure coming externally on businesses to change, but you know, at this point in time, you know, at the end of 2021, people are like, well, I know I need to change, but I don't know what to do. And the thinking that underpins business is still very, very attached to the old ways of doing of thinking. So it's a lot about the economic models, when actually where we're moving into, it needs to be much broader than that. We need to be thinking differently. We need to be thinking in a very holistic terms, and that's not something that we've actually moved away from holistic thinking into very much silo thinking over the last years, and we need to be restoring that holistic thinking. And so there's going to be, business is going to have to change. There's a lot of pressure to do that. Going back to the theme of resilience, you can be preparing for that. It's about changing your thinking as and the way that you work. That gives you the freedom to change without reference to anything else or anywhere else. So you can actually self-referencing, and self-resourcing is going to be very, very important skill in the next few years, because by creating what is right and true for you, then you start to bring about harmony and balance, and you start to create the opportunity for real innovation that creates that balance and responds to those pressures that are coming in from the outside in order to make those changes. So I think it is going to be a very big year for change in business, and I think we're going to see some dramatic shifts, but we may not really appreciate the enormity of those until we can look back with the benefit of hindsight. So going to be lots going on in this year, but whilst it sounds very intense, I suspect it may feel more natural and less frenetic and less adrenalized than we might have been feeling in the last 12 months, certainly. So I think it's actually got a very easy feel to it, as long as you allow yourself to go with the flow rather than fight it.